The frantic knocking on my front door at 2 in the morning jolted me from a restless sleep in my small rented house on the outskirts of Seattle. I rubbed my eyes, pulled on a robe, and checked the peephole to see my neighbor Michael, his face ashen and eyes wild with panic under the dim porch light. "Laura, for God's sake, let me in. I need your help to hide a secret, or my sister Lydia's life will be destroyed forever," he pleaded in a hushed, urgent tone that sent chills down my spine. I hesitated for a split second, my mind racing through every possible worst case, but something in his voice, the raw desperation, made me unlock the door and pull him inside before any neighbors could notice. Michael collapsed onto my couch, his hands shaking as he ran them through his hair. I poured him a glass of water and sat across from him, waiting for the words to come. He finally looked up, his voice barely above a whisper. "My family is pushing Lydia into a marriage with Victor, this wealthy guy from our old community network. It's not love, it's business and tradition. They say it will secure everything, but she's miserable, Laura, and I know because I see it every day." I stared at him, processing the words. Michael and I had been friendly neighbors for 2 years, waving across the fence, sharing the occasional backyard barbecue, but we never delved deep into personal lives. I knew his family was tight-knit, conservative Vietnamese American immigrants who valued appearances above all, but this sounded heavier than simple family expectations. "Why me, Michael?" I asked, crossing my arms. "Because I know about you," he said softly, not in a judgmental way but with understanding. "I saw you with your ex-girlfriend last year before she moved away. You're out and strong, and you get what it's like to fight against what people expect. I need you to help me hide something first to buy time, but really I need you to protect Lydia, help her see she doesn't have to go through with this." My heart pounded. Hiding his secret, whatever it was, felt risky, but protecting his sister from a forced marriage, that was a whole different level of entanglement. I thought about my own past, how coming out at 22 had cost me holidays with my parents, cold shoulders from cousins, and a lingering ache that never fully faded. Getting involved could drag me back into that world of judgment and isolation. Yet looking at Michael's broken expression, I couldn't turn away. "Okay," I said finally, "but tell me everything." He nodded, relief flooding his face. "The secret is mine," he confessed. "I'm gay, Laura, and if it comes out now, the family will crumble. They already suspect something is off with me, so they're doubling down on Lydia to show the community we're traditional solid. If I can keep my head down, pretend everything is normal, maybe even have you around as a cover friend, or something, it gives me time to figure out how to help her escape without destroying us all." The weight of his words settled on me like lead. Here was a man living in fear just like I once had, and his solution involved me stepping into a role that could expose my own vulnerabilities. But the thought of Lydia trapped in a life she didn't choose stirred something protective in me. We talked until dawn, mapping out a plan, simple at first: meet her casually at a family gathering, pose as the helpful neighbor. When Michael left, I stood at my window watching the sun rise over the quiet street, wondering if I had just agreed to something that would upend my calm illustrator life forever. The next afternoon I drove to the cafe Michael suggested, a cozy spot downtown with soft lighting and private booths. Lydia was already there, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, her eyes the same warm brown as Michael's but shadowed with exhaustion. She stood when I approached, offering a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Laura, right? Michael told me you might help with some wedding planning ideas. He said it was to keep things light." I nodded, sliding into the seat across from her, ordering coffee to steady my nerves. As we talked surface level about flowers and venues, I watched her carefully, noticing how her fingers twisted the napkin, how her voice faltered when mentioning Victor. "He's successful, stable," she said, but her tone was flat. "My parents think it's perfect for the family business, merging our import company with his. But every time I picture the wedding, I feel like I'm drowning." Something in her honesty cracked my defenses. I shared a little about my own experiences with expectations, not the full lesbian part yet, but enough to show I understood pressure. Lydia leaned in, her gaze searching mine. "You seem so free, Laura, like you made choices for yourself. How did you do it without losing everything?" Her question hung between us, heavy with unspoken longing. I didn't have all the answers, but in that moment I knew I couldn't walk away. We spent the next hour talking deeper than planned, and when we parted she hugged me briefly, her touch lingering just a second too long. Driving home, my mind swirled with conflicting emotions: attraction I hadn't expected, mixed with fear of the moral line I was crossing by inserting myself into their family mess. Helping hide Michael's secret was one thing, but the pull toward Lydia felt like the start of something that could cost us all dearly. I spent the evening sketching in my studio trying to distract myself, but every line reminded me of her face, the way her eyes lit up when she laughed for the first time that day. By nightfall I had convinced myself it was just empathy, nothing more. Little did I know this was only the beginning of choices that would test every belief I held about right and wrong. Michael texted later thanking me and confirming the family dinner that weekend where I would officially meet the parents. I agreed, but as I lay in bed the internal battle raged. Was I protecting Lydia, or was I selfishly drawn to her pain because it mirrored my own past wounds? The decision to go felt like stepping onto a path with no clear exit, and the price already felt heavy on my chest. The family dinner at the Nguyen home was set for Saturday evening, and as I pulled up to the modest two-story house in a quiet neighborhood, I felt my stomach twist with nerves. Michael met me at the curb, his smile forced but grateful as he whispered, "Thanks again, Laura, just act natural and keep the focus off me." I nodded, smoothing my simple black dress, hoping it struck the right balance of respectful and unassuming. Inside, the air smelled of fragrant pho and grilled meats, the table laden with dishes that spoke of tradition and hospitality. Lydia's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nguyen, greeted me warmly, but their eyes held a sharpness that made me cautious. Lydia emerged from the kitchen, her smile brighter than at the cafe, but I caught the tension in her shoulders when Victor was mentioned. He joined later, a tall, confident man in his 30s who dominated conversations with talk of mergers and community status. Throughout the meal I played my part, chatting lightly about my illustration work while stealing glances at Lydia. She sat across from me, her foot accidentally brushing mine under the table, sending an unexpected spark through me that I quickly pushed down. This was not the time or place for such feelings. After dinner Michael pulled me aside in the hallway. "They're buying the cover," he said low. "Having you here as my friend makes me look stable. But Lydia, she needs more than that, Laura. Talk to her, get her to open up about Victor. She's scared, but she trusts you already." I found Lydia in the backyard later under string lights, her arms wrapped around herself against the cool evening air. She turned when I approached, relief in her eyes. "Thanks for coming tonight," she said softly. "It makes this feel less like a prison sentence." We walked the small garden path talking about everything and nothing, her job at the family company, her dreams of traveling that Victor dismissed as impractical. I listened, feeling the weight of her words, the way she described feeling invisible in her own life. "You deserve to choose your path, Lydia," I said gently, not wanting to push too hard. "No one should be forced into a marriage that steals your future." Her eyes met mine, holding longer than necessary. "You make it sound possible, Laura, but my parents, they sacrificed everything coming here. Refusing would break their hearts and shame the family." The moral dilemma hit me then. Was I encouraging rebellion or offering genuine support? Back inside, the parents cornered me with polite questions about my background, subtly probing if I was single, hinting that a nice girl like me might fit their circle. I deflected, smiling through the discomfort, but inside I felt the familiar sting of prejudice, the assumption that my life needed fixing to match their ideals. As the evening wound down, Lydia walked me to my car. "I don't know why, but talking to you feels safe," she confessed. "Can we meet again, just us?" I agreed, knowing each step deeper entangled me further. The drive home was filled with racing thoughts. Michael's secret was safe for now, but my growing concern for Lydia bordered on something more personal. That night I tossed in bed, replaying her words, her touch, wondering if my decision to help was truly altruistic, or if I was falling for a woman trapped in a world that would never accept us. Monday brought the first cracks in the facade. At my freelance illustration studio, coworkers mentioned seeing me at the Nguyen's house, gossip spreading fast in our small community about the straight neighbor and the lesbian artist. I brushed it off, but the whispers stung, reminding me of past betrayals when friends distanced themselves after my coming out. Michael called that evening panicked. "Parents are asking about us," he said. "Can you come over tomorrow, act like we're close?" I agreed, but the lie sat heavy. When I arrived, Lydia was there too, her presence turning the simple cover into an emotional minefield. We three sat in the living room crafting stories, but as Michael stepped out for a call, Lydia turned to me. "I can't stop thinking about what you said about choosing my path. Victor called today, pushing the date up, and I felt trapped all over again." Her vulnerability pulled at me, and without thinking I reached for her hand. "You're not alone," I whispered. The touch lingered electric, and when Michael returned the air had shifted. That week we met secretly, Lydia and I, at parks and coffee shops under the guise of wedding planning, but really exploring her doubts. Each conversation deepened the bond, her laughter becoming my favorite sound, her fears mirroring my own past struggles with identity and acceptance. Yet the internal conflict grew. Was I betraying Michael's trust by letting feelings develop, or was I fulfilling his real request to protect her? Societal pressure mounted when a neighbor spotted us together and mentioned it to Michael's mother, sparking a tense phone call where she praised my influence but warned against anything improper. I felt the walls closing and the price of involvement rising with every choice. By the end of the week, Lydia texted me late at night, "I think I'm starting to see a different future with your help, Laura." Reading it, my heart raced, but so did the fear of what that future might cost us both in family ties and community standing. The drama was building and I knew there was no turning back from the decisions we were making. The secret meetings with Lydia became the highlight of my days, but they also amplified the turmoil inside me. We would slip away to a quiet overlook by the sound, the city lights twinkling below, as she poured out her heart about the mounting pressure from her parents who had set the wedding date for 3 months away. "Victor is nice enough," she said one evening, her voice trembling. "But he doesn't see me, not the real me. He talks about heirs and company expansion like I'm a business asset." I listened, fighting the urge to pull her close, knowing any move could complicate everything. My own moral compass spun wildly. Was I guiding her toward freedom, or toward a path that would shatter her family, the very thing Michael had begged me to preserve while hiding his truth? Michael himself was unraveling under the strain. During one of our cover lunches, he confided the full weight of his secret. "I met someone, Laura, a guy from work, but I can't even acknowledge it. If the family finds out before Lydia is settled, they'll blame me for the whole mess." His eyes pleaded for understanding and I reassured him, but inside I questioned if my growing closeness with Lydia was undermining his plan. The betrayal felt inevitable yet unavoidable. Workplace gossip escalated when a colleague asked point blank if I was dating Michael, to go straight. I laughed it off, but the comment cut deep, reminding me how society still viewed my life as a phase or a problem to fix. That evening at home, I sketched furiously, trying to process the anger and fear, but Lydia's face kept appearing in the drawings, her expression one of quiet strength that drew me in more each day. Our next meeting was at a hidden beach spot, where the waves provided cover for deeper talks. Lydia arrived with red eyes from a fight with her mother, who had accused her of being ungrateful for the match. "I just want to be happy," she whispered, sitting close enough that our shoulders touched. "For the first time I feel like I could be with you around." The words hung there charged, and I felt my resolve weaken. We didn't kiss, but the air between us crackled with possibility. And as we parted, her hand squeezed mine, a silent promise. Back home, the internal debate raged. Helping her resist the marriage aligned with protecting her, as Michael asked, but the romantic pull crossed into selfish territory. What right did I have to awaken feelings in her that could lead to disownment? The following weekend, the family hosted a pre-wedding gathering and Michael insisted I attend to keep the facade strong. The event was lavish, with community elders praising the union while Lydia moved through it like a ghost. During a quiet moment in the garden, she pulled me aside. "I can't do this, Laura," she said, tears welling. "Every time I look at Victor, the first see a cage. Your words, your presence, it's showing me there's another way." Her confession stirred both joy and dread. I held her gaze, fighting the desire to confess my own feelings. Later, Michael cornered me, his face tight. "Things are heating up," he said. "Parents are suspicious about how close you and Lydia are getting. We need to dial it back, or my secret explodes." His warning hit like a slap. The first hint of betrayal from him who had started this. Yet I understood his fear. That night alone, I paced my living room, weighing the choices. Continuing meant risking everything: my reputation, my peace, for a love that was just budding. Stopping meant abandoning Lydia to a life of regret. The tension built as I realized the price was no longer abstract, it was my heart, and her future colliding with forces larger than us. By morning, I had decided to push forward one more step, but the awakening in me was clear. This was no longer just protection, it was the start of something profound and dangerous. The emotional breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday when Lydia showed up at my door unannounced, soaked and shaking. I pulled her inside, wrapping her in a towel as she broke down. "The wedding invitations went out today," she sobbed. My mother cried tears of joy while I felt like dying inside. I held her as she cried, the closeness igniting the spark we had both been circling. When her eyes met mine, the hesitation vanished and we shared a kiss, soft and tentative, filled with years of unspoken longing. It wasn't passion that consumed, but a deep emotional connection that left us both breathless and terrified. "This changes everything," Lydia whispered, pulling back but not away. I don't know if I'm ready for what this means, but I know I can't marry him. The joy of that moment was short-lived as reality crashed in. Michael called later that night, his voice strained. I heard from a friend you two were seen together again. Laura, if they link this to me being gay, it's over. I tried to reassure him, but his doubt was clear. The man who asked for my help was now pulling back, fearing the exposure. The betrayal stung, but I understood his survival instinct. The next days brought escalating confrontations. At work, my boss pulled me aside, mentioning rumors about my involvement with the Nguyen family and how it might affect client perceptions in our conservative-leaning circles. I defended myself but lost a key project, the first real sacrifice of my choices. Lydia faced her own battles, a heated argument with her father where he accused her of selfishness for questioning the marriage. She texted me afterward, I stood up to him for the first time because of you. The words warmed me but highlighted the family fractures we were causing. Our secret moments grew more intense, stolen hours where we talked about futures free from expectations. Lydia, exploring her feelings openly for the first time, admitting the attraction had always been there, buried under duty. I shared my coming out story, the pain and the freedom, and she listened with eyes full of empathy. Yet the moral weight pressed harder. Was I right to encourage this, knowing it could destroy her relationships with the only family she had known? One evening, Michael showed up at my house furious. This was supposed to be about hiding my secret, not you falling for my sister, he accused. You're making it worse, Laura. His words cut deep, revealing the shift from ally to obstacle. I defended our connection, but the confrontation left me reeling, questioning if my actions were protective or destructive. The climax of the week came at the wedding rehearsal dinner where tensions boiled. Lydia arrived tense, and when Victor pulled her aside for photos, I saw her discomfort peak. Later, in a private hallway, she grabbed my hand. I can't pretend anymore, she said. I love you, Laura, not him. The declaration sent my heart soaring, but before I could respond, her mother walked in, catching the moment. The look of shock and betrayal on her face froze us all. What is this, she demanded. The family storm had arrived, and in that instant I knew the choices we made had a price tag written in broken bonds and public scrutiny. As we drove away that night, Lydia in my passenger seat holding my hand, I felt the awakening complete, but the road ahead was paved with uncertainty and the very real possibility of total loss. The family blow-up spread like wildfire through the community within hours of the rehearsal incident. Lydia's phone buzzed nonstop with messages from relatives demanding explanations, while my own inbox filled with concerned or judgmental notes from acquaintances who had heard the rumors. Lydia stayed at my house that night, her eyes red from crying as she processed the disownment threats her father had hurled. I don't regret it, she told me, but the pain is real. I held her through the night, our embrace a quiet anchor amid the chaos, offering comfort without words. The next morning, Michael arrived unannounced, his face a mask of anger and fear. You've ruined everything, he said, confronting us in my living room. My parents are questioning me now, linking your friendship to my single status. His betrayal felt complete, the man who had begged for help now blaming us for the fallout. I stood my ground, reminding him of his original request, but the argument escalated into shouts about loyalty and selfishness. Lydia stepped between us, her voice steady for the first time. This is my life, Michael, not yours. Laura showed me what real support looks like. He left, slamming the door, the rift between siblings now mirroring the larger family divide. Societal prejudice hit full force in the following days. At the local market, whispers followed us, shoppers averting eyes or offering pitying looks. My landlord even mentioned complaints about noise, though there was none a clear sign of bias against our visible closeness. I lost 2 freelance contracts that week, clients citing creative differences, but the subtext was clear: association with controversy. The internal conflicts peaked for both of us. Lydia wrestled with guilt over her parents' pain, replaying childhood memories of their sacrifices, while I battled self-doubt, wondering if my love was worth the wreckage. Yet in quiet moments we found strength, talking through the awakenings, how protecting her had freed parts of ourselves we didn't know were caged. The high tension culminated at a community event where Lydia's parents attended. Spotting us together, her mother approached, voice low but venomous. You turned our daughter against us, she accused me. This lifestyle you promote, it destroys families. The public confrontation drew a crowd, and Lydia defended us fiercely, declaring her love and her right to choose. The backlash was immediate: texts from relatives cutting ties, community posts questioning our morals. We retreated to my house that night exhausted but united, planning next steps, a quiet move to another part of the city to escape the immediate pressure. Michael texted once more, a partial olive branch, admitting his own struggles, but warning the family might never forgive. The chase to protect our bond felt like running a gauntlet, each decision costing pieces of our old lives. As we packed a few belongings, Lydia turned to me, eyes shining with resolve. No matter what we face together, it's worth it. Her words solidified the awakening, but the price remained steep: broken family ties, damaged reputations, and the constant fight against a society quick to judge. Weeks turned into a fragile new normal as Lydia and I settled into a small apartment across town, the distance from the old neighborhood providing some breathing room, but not erasing the scars. Michael had partially come out to his parents in a tense family meeting, the shock waves still rippling, but it eased some pressure, allowing him to support us quietly from afar. Lydia's parents remained distant, their silence a heavy weight she carried daily, calling occasionally only to end in tears. I watched her navigate the grief, supporting her through nights of doubt, where she questioned if our love justified the pain inflicted. My own sacrifices mounted a strained relationship with my remaining family, who heard the rumors and pulled back further, plus professional setbacks that forced me to take on smaller gigs. Yet the bond between us deepened in ways that made every hardship feel surmountable. Shared mornings with coffee and sketches, evenings talking about dreams unhindered by expectations. One golden afternoon in a nearby park, we walked hand in hand, the sun warming our faces as Lydia stopped and pulled me close. "I never knew happiness like this," she said, her eyes reflecting the peace we had fought for. The embrace in that moment captured everything: the romantic joy after battles, the awakening that love could triumph over prejudice and duty. We had paid dearly, families fractured, communities alienated, but in choosing each other we found strength and authenticity. Reflection brought clarity on the journey, from Michael's desperate plea to this hard-won freedom. The moral choices remained etched in memory, the moments of betrayal and sacrifice that tested us. As we sat on a bench watching the sunset, Lydia leaned her head on my shoulder. "We made it, Laura, despite everything." The story of our love stood as testament to the fights worth fighting, but it left lingering questions about the human cost. In the end, was it right for us to shatter the families and traditions that raised us in pursuit of this love? Or did the greater wrong lie in forcing souls into lives that denied their truth?